I've gone a little beyond, but I'll explain. But right now I have my 2 notches, so let me know if this is a back piece. So I'm going to show you how to walk that seam, but I first want to walk these notches. So when you walk, and it's easy to see because we have double layers of paper, you start at the top, notch to notch, and you pivot so that the fabric touches. Okay, it touches here, touches here. Okay, so I always pivot and come back. Now here starts a little bit of a pivot right in between the notches. So when I get where I want my notch to be, I'm going to color it in. There's my 1/2 inch, and I'm going to come around, and oh look, it's a wee bit long. That's okay. I'm going to cut this little piece off right here. So I've already kind of pre-drawn it. So I want my edges to match, so it's okay. I'm just going to cut that wee bit off and blend it in. And now I know these notches go where I want them to go.
Okay, so she's walking and notching the princess line of the back yoke. So go ahead and point out all the, so this is center back.
So here's my center back with my 1/4 inch seam. Okay.
And where do the notches go?
So I'm going to notch where the zip goes. Now this zipper is going to be the full length of this seam. So I'm going to notch the 3/4 seam, which will match with the center back seam of the skirt.
And I don't think we're going to do a center back. I think we're going to do side seams.
Oh, well, we'll have a center back notch. So 1/2 inch in. Okay, we've already done this. So now I'm notching the top of this seam. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I've already notched those 2. So I'm going to notch the bottom because these 2 seams go together. I'm going to notch my side seam because these 2 seams will go together. You see that?
Go ahead and block it real quick.
So I'm going to notch that real quick. Notch that real quick. And
Okay,
here's the walking of the side seam. Now remember, I nipped off my corner a little bit, so I want to match where the seam allowances go. See, I'm going to pivot, and where it touches, 1/2 inch. Pivot, where it touches, come in 1/2 inch. Pivot, and now I don't have to pivot anymore. Beautiful, there's my 1/2 inch. And I'm not going to quibble about a 32nd of an inch. Okay, so now I know these 2 seams walk. We know these 2 seams walk. So I'm going to put in my top notch. So these 2 sew together, so those notches match. My center front needs a notch there, and it also needs a notch here. Oh, sorry, I'm writing another word there.
So those are those little center snips, you know, that I have you put in like in intermediate sewing at the center of the neckline and things like that.
Right now I'm just going to pretend this is part of your skirt. So if this was your skirt, the whole front, you'd find the center, put a notch there, and then that is where this notch matches. Because you're going to have a lot of fabric over here that you're going to shear in to fit this portion.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh yeah, and actually now that I think about it, not only are you going to learn how to, you know, create this yoke and set the invisible zipper and use the facing to clean the zipper, but if you weren't doing a bubble, you would be learning how to shear a skirt onto a yoke. So so if you, we'll think about that as we're going to just be doubling it and shearing it to the yoke, but it's the same technique as shearing any skirt and attaching it to the yoke. All right, Joanna, is that it for now?
Well, I want pictures.
Oh, yes.
And I know I cut quickly, but this is the beginning of the yoke where I pivoted out the side dart. And I would like a picture of this as well so that I can see. So that I can see that you pivoted out, that you know where the dart is, so that you have this line to be able to create this dart.
Okay, so take pictures of these pieces. I'm going to take pictures and insert them into the video. Okay, so before we end, we just wanted you to know that this technique that we've taught you is how to create the yoke. The yoke doesn't have to be to these exact proportions. It doesn't have to be 6.5 inches long. It could be, you know, a 3-inch yoke or a 2-inch yoke, but this is the technique for creating the yoke, pivoting the dart out. Now, if you were to decide to do a shorter yoke, you can eliminate the darts in the back the way and not have to have a princess seam. But because we're doing a deep yoke for this bubble skirt, we thought it better that we create the princess seam for the back. But anyways, you've learned a technique now for eliminating darts to create a yoke for the skirt that we're going to sew in muslin. We're just going to, we've put cut to self, even though this is cut on center front, because we're going to cut one fashion fabric, one muslin. We're doing the whole thing out of muslin, so we're going to be cutting 2 out of muslin. We'll be cutting 4 out of muslin, because we're going to just treat it as though it's a self yoke. But you know, could do lining. Although for the muslin sample, we'll probably all do it the same. But let's say that you decided to do a skirt with a yoke. The facing could be lining. It wouldn't have to be self. Anyways, there's some information. All right. Good luck, everybody.